Hello, hello, hello. Today is June 4th, 2024. Every couple of weeks we hear from Norm Winski. Norm, the floor is yours.
Thank you very much, Jeff. I was last on your show on Friday, May 20th. No, that was a Monday. I take it back. That was Monday, May 20th. I apologize for that. And I gave you six forecast cycles coming up that week. The morning of the 23rd, we had a full moon. To be exact, it was at 9:54 a.m. right after the opening. That'll play into some things I'm going to show you here. And anytime we have a full moon, new moon, we always look at financials, grains, precious metals, and oil. Then the night of the 24th, that's after the close, AC after the close, we had geocentric, that's from the point of view of the Earth, Jupiter entering the sign of Gemini. Jupiter changes signs about once a year, to be exact, about average about 11 and a half months, and would change in signs. I thought, projecting that it would affect copper, oil, soybean, sugar, and wheat. Then we had the night of the 24th. That's a double dipper there. The night of the 24th, we had Neptune to the U.S. chart for stocks, T bonds, U.S. dollar, and oil. And then the night of the 30th, we had Pluto to the U.S. chart. This U.S. chart is based on when the country was founded on July the 4th, 1776, where the planets were then. And that's stocks, T bonds, U.S. dollar. And then we had another one after the U.S. chart the weekend of the 31st for stocks, T bonds, U.S. dollar, and then that same weekend we had Jupiter, geocentric Jupiter from the point of view of the Earth, making a 120-degree angle to Pluto for cocoa, copper, hogs, and T bonds. Here's our first market we're going to look at is corn, and there's your moon, and the corn just kept going, so that's a miss. We look to sell on strength, buy on weakness, and do nothing when it goes sideways. Red arrow means you did not have a good chance to make money, so we're going to call that a miss and put a red arrow there. Here's a good one. Beans made a short-term top there on the moon, pulled back, ran up, and made a retest of that high on our Jupiter going into Gemini right there. And you can see that was a very nice top there on the beans, and it dropped about, looks like about a buck. It would be, if that were a dollar, about 55, 60 cents, we'll say. That'd be $3,000. It's quite a bit of money there. Here's the wheat it went sideways into the moon, but then it went up and also made a top on Jupiter and Gemini, and that made a nice top too. Here's cocoa. It just went sideways into our timing window there, and so you got a yellow box. It's a pass. We do nothing. Hogs, on the other hand, rallied into our Pluto point there at the end of the month, end of May, into the first Monday's opening, June the 3rd, and that made a nice short-term top there. Here's sugar. Jupiter in the Gemini was on the sugar was on that list, and you can see that it made a nice top there on sugar. Here's crude oil. It made a nice low on the moon, but then our 2 points over here did not work well. It worked in terms of a day timing, but too much drawdown there. If you sold on the open, as is my usual methodology, then you would have had a big drawdown, and that's not acceptable. So two misses there. Here's copper, made a nice low there on our Jupiter and Gemini point there, and then down here for Jupiter to Pluto in Aquarius. Aquarius is copper, and it made a low there and popped up. Copper is a beast when it comes to money. Every penny movement you see here is $250. Not as pretty typical for copper to move 10 cents in a day. That's $2,500. I think it moved like 15 cents on that one bar there for about $3,750. So that's some pretty big money there. Here's silver making a low there on the moon, and then you had a big pop up 2 days later. And so that was a big winner there. Gold had the same problem with gold we had with the oil, in that we had a good day, but we were just too early in the day. So the opening there, you had too much drawdown. Had to mark that as a miss. Here's the S&P. We were just about perfect on the S&P. There's your full moon there right on the opening. And then it dropped about 80 handles back on the 23rd. You can check it out yourself. And then we rallied back up to our next 2 points. That was a nice top there, down to our next point, which was a low. and up here for a top, and it had a big dip on Monday the 3rd, and I think we were down 40, 50 handles at one point there before it came back. Here's T-bonds. We had had the moon there, had the Jupiter, I think the U.S. point there, and then we had 2 points, 3 points over here, and those were misses. So it's kind of a mixed picture there. For the bonds, here's a dollar on the moon, made a top there. You'll see in a minute all the currencies were dancing, almost all the currencies were dancing to the moon. And this must be a U.S. point there, made a low. Another point there, U.S. point there, that was for a high. But our last day there, the 31st weekend, that did not work so well. That probably should have been marked sideways. As you can see, it really was sideways. But I marked it for 2 misses there. And okay, here's your currencies now. All just the moon, only the moon in the currencies. So there's the Aussie dollar pulling down into the moon. And there's a British pound went sideways, so we do nothing. All the others are good. Canadian dollar down a low right on the moon. Euro made a low right on the moon. Yen made a low right on the moon. And here we're now at the end. So we now have 24, if you count the green arrows, red arrows, 24 winners, 8 misses out of 32 for 75% winners. Now I'm going to review some things I said in the past. I had been projecting for a couple of months that based on the 2022 bear market with the S&P topping on January the 4th of 2022 at 48.19, I'm rounding off to the nearest dollar, rounding off the pennies, and dropping to, we had like a mini bear market there, and we dropped all the way to October the 13th to 34.92. That gets you 1,327 handles or points on the S&P. And once we took that 48.19 level out, then you do your Fibonacci extensions and projections, and all the next levels would be 1.382 times this range, gets you 1,833.78. You add that to the 2022 low, 34.92, and that equals 53.2578. Now, what was happening right around the time when I was last on your show, Jeff? We made a high on the 6th. Here we go. We made this box here. We made a high on the 16th right there at 53.2549. The market just pulled back and took a stab at that level 1, 2, 3 more times and could not get over that level. It was like a wall there. The only time it got over that level was right on the full moon on the opening of the 23rd. It had a spike up, a gap up opening right on the opening minute, and from that point it was down, down, down. I think it dropped about 80 handles that day, and so there you go. So here's how I see this now. So we had good resistance here. I had a momentary lapse there on the resistance, but that provided some good resistance. And it's still even over here. It had trouble getting over this level. I think longer term, though, my experience is that because you did have a momentary breach there, the market's telling you somewhere down in the not too distant future, perhaps we're going to come up and test that level again. And if we do, and we get over this level here, we're probably going to the next level, which would be 1.618 times that old range, and that would take you to 56.39 as a possibility. Not saying absolutely, but it's a possibility. So there's the chart. There's the points there. We got to 53.4188 on the opening of the 23rd, right on the full moon. So there we go. That was a full moon. Yep. All right, now I got one more review to show you real quick. Every month I do a planet, what I call the planetary index, where I quantify what's going to be happening with the planets over the coming month. And then if you got numbers, you can plot it on a graph. And here's my blue line forecast for the month of May, starting on April 29th through May the 31st. And there's a whole class right here on this chart. For example, that red arrow there, you see the PL is for Pluto. Pluto turned retrograde right there. And look what we have there. We have the low of the month. Then we had a new moon here, and the market pulled back into the new moon. And then over here we had the spike high I just told you about, right on the full moon. So it's pretty, I put these points on here in advance, so I didn't know what the market was going to do in relation to those points. But we do know that those are a high percentage change in trend points. So if the market's going down, we look to buy. If the market's going up, we look to sell. And there you go. So if you'd like to have some advantage hint of what's going to happen, give me a call. Now we're going to look in the crystal ball here and see what's coming up. The morning of the 5th, we have one of my top points. Anytime the planets get to 0 latitude, that's often a big deal. So we have Venus 0 north latitude. We'll look at the Venus markets, our cattle, copper, cotton, sugar, wheat. Let me remind you, stocks potentially respond to all these events. So if I don't say stocks, just assume stocks are included. Then we have the night of the 5th, that's after the close, new moon in Gemini, looking for something for a trade possibly the next morning, on the morning of the 6th. Anytime we have new moon, full moon, financials, grains, precious metals, and I guess I should have put oil in there. I'm going to put oil in right now because it should have been on the list. Well, there we go. I just added oil. They have Jupiter and Gemini. A double whammy for the oil because the next morning Jupiter is going to enter Gemini and oil is on that list. So copper, oil, soybean, sugar, wheat. And then that's the morning of the 6th. The morning of the 6th looks big. And then the 7th, then over the weekend, the 7th, we have Mercury 0 north latitude, and we have Mercury, we'll be looking at the grains. So if you like any more explanation of this, give me a call. I'll be happy to give you a free class. I've been doing this about 50 years. I'm a former Chicago floor trader. I was on the CBOE and the Board of Trade over a 12-year period. I was trading my own account. I was not a broker. I was risking my own money, and I survived that period. So I'm looking forward to helping some of the folks there. You can call me here in beautiful Naples, Florida, 239-594-3939, or you can call me on Skype in Winski, Nwinsk at yahoo.com. That's also my email address. Please email that address, not any other address you find. And there we go. And so looking forward to helping some of the folks. Everybody have a great week ahead.
Norm, that's fantastic as always. And just to inform some new viewers about how remarkable this track record is, Mark Hulbert had a service where he reviewed hundreds of stock market prognosticators, and supposedly it's easier to predict the stock market than it is commodities. Certainly more people make money in stocks than make money in commodities. And the very top forecaster out of all his hundreds of services was correct about 70% of the time. And that's over a whole year. And here every 2 weeks, time after time after time, you're in the 75 to 80% range on a harder set of assets to trade. I think it's a remarkable track record. I'm so grateful that you come on my channel. We'll see you back in a couple of weeks, okay?
Thank you very much, Jeff.
Bye-bye.
Bye.